Hey there, guys. This is Sam from GameInteracture.com, and today I'm just going to jump straight into the interview. And I'm here today with JumbleJunkie, Tim from JumbleJunkie, and I'm really glad that Tim's joined me today. I was introduced to his channel by Yuri of Wind from the last interview. So I just want to say to Tim a massive thank you for coming along, and yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me on.
That's all right. Yeah, so let's just get started. We might as well start logically at the start with the origins of your channel and how you got started on YouTube. So what was the reason why the first video you ever put up? Firstly, what was the first video you ever put up, and what was the reason that you decided to do that?
Well, YouTube was always something that was there. I never realized that it was something that you would, make videos for, like, every month or every week, or as like a hobby. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I felt like YouTube was one of those websites where you'd watch like people getting hit in the balls, or cute kitten videos and stuff. Like, I never thought there was like communities and stuff. So I was just like watching some videos, and I don't know how I came across it, but I came across Angry Video Game Nerd, just like most people.
Yeah.
So I watched it, and I was instantly like, blown away.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if he can do stuff like this, why can't I? I mean, I have a background, like I did a lot of like filmmaking things. I always, made movies with friends and stuff. I'm a musician, so I'm really into music and stuff like that. So the origins of JumbleJunkie, hence the name Jumble, which is like all the things I was into at the time.
Yeah.
I'm really into filmmaking, music, video games, you name it. I'm just into lots of stuff. So. And Junkie is self-explanatory. So that was kind of the origins of the channel. Like, I wanted to have a channel to host all my interest. And it anyone who wants to get into YouTube, I kind of suggest you don't do that, because you confuse your audience very, very easily. Like, usually people like to come and they know what they're going to get. So long story short, I mean, JumbleJunkie, the reason that I guess we're doing this interview is my gaming deal, and it's kind of like my main thing that I do. I did spawn out, which we'll probably get into later on, but the first video I ever did on YouTube, it was like I think a Batman Black Knight or Dark Knight or whatever. It was just terrible. Like, I think I used Windows Movie Maker, and I was just really half-assed.
Yeah.
And then I did a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out review, which I started to add the humor and stuff like that, and
And you just mentioned the humor there. Just talking about sort of the style in which you do your videos. How important is it, the humor aspect for you? Is it more about the humor, or is it more about the video games and whatever you're presenting?
Earlier on, like 3 years ago when I started this, it was about the humor. It was about the jokes. And thrown in like the angry video game nerdish skits and stuff like that. Like, that was like my main focus. Like, I like doing that stuff. Like, the live action stuff to me is the most fun to do. And if you get friends involved, that's even, it's a plus. But as, years went on, now when I do reviews, actually I was working on a review for Fear 3 before we did this interview, and it's pretty serious. I'm straight to the point. Sure, I'll throw a zinger or two in there, but for, the most part, 90% of the time, it's to the point about the game. No skits or anything like that, and you just want to keep the audience go usually any longer than like 4 or 5 minutes. Kind of quick what you see like on IGN or Destructo or whatever.
Yeah. So is it so? I'm guessing you do it all scripted now.
I do occasional improv stuff. Generally, when I do a lot of arcade stuff.
Yeah.
So. That stuff is a little bit easier, just to kind of half-ass and vlog almost, and just kind of chop it up. But when you're, I type it out, I go through, I proofread it, and then generally that's when I start inserting joke if it's appropriate,
Yeah, and you mentioned the arcade thing. You've got a few videos up on your channel with your whole arcade collection. It's pretty. It looks like you've got a lot of machines, and I can't think that's like sort of a cheap hobby to follow. Is that right? Would I be right in saying that?
That's a very about arcade collecting. Most people think if you got a basement full of arcade games that this guy must be rolling in the dough. He must be Scrooge McDuck swimming in the coins, That's not the case when it comes to arcade collecting. Arcade collecting is one of those things. It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
I've YouTube, which there's a lot of good things, a lot of positive things that came out of YouTube. I met another kind of like local collector who at a kind of a local arcade collecting forum, and wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't know about this stuff. So I've become very good friends with him. I've met, good, 20, 30 people that live, within 4 to 5 hours of me that have this passion for this hobby. And it really just started out back when I lived with my parents, before I had my own Caliber 2 machine. I watched this movie called The King of Kong, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. And that just totally sparked my interest. And to boot, I have two of the largest arcades in the world within hours from me. So it just totally sparked the whole hobby, and it became an addiction. And like I said, I know friends that have stuff and they let stuff go cheap. And like for instance, like this weekend, I picked up a full Outrun arcade machine. Needs a board and stuff, but I got it for free. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So are you sort of do you have to do maintenance work on them, or ever sort of putting parts together or anything like that?
That is half the fun of arcade collecting. Sometimes I feel like I have more fun working on the arcade tabs than actually playing them.
Yeah.
I mean, Donkey Kong was my my holy grail. That was the game I wanted the most. So, you could, $500 to $800 for a really nice, fully restored Donkey Kong. But I was like, that's just a lot of money. And there's not a single arcade in my collection that cost over $300.
Okay.
So they're all fairly cheap, but yes, you got to put work into them. Sure, you got and stuff, but that's half the fun. Then 6 months later, I took a beat down Donkey Kong cab and completely restored it.
So how many arcade machines do you have in your collection at the moment?
Right now, I have 11 arcade machines and I have 1 pinball machine.
Okay.
Which it took me. It's about 2.5 years worth of collecting.
Yeah.
Which seems like a rapid amount for that short amount of time. But like I said, it's all about who you know and getting stuff super cheap. And when deals come up, you go after them.
So is this something you intend to keep on doing?
Yeah, I mean it's something that really just, I don't know. Like I'm one of those people, when I get into something, I get into it. There's never no medium. There's always from 1 to 90 miles an hour, nonstop. That's just the way it is. And a lot of people that get into this hobby have like it's a sick addiction. It really is. It's like you got to have more and more, and you get those cabs that come up that are super nostalgic, and it's like, oh, I gotta have them.
Yeah, and you've got your arcade collection. Is there anything else that you're collecting in terms of the video games or your music hobbies or anything like that?
Big into music and stuff. I'm always a supporter of buying music, like CDs and stuff. I've always done that since I was like, my first job when I was 15 or 16. So, I say I play drums, I play guitar. I was very heavily into recording music, and unfortunately YouTube put a big, stop to that.
Yeah.
I have no time to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I still love music, still passions, hence why I have a music channel. But I'm just like any other guy on YouTube that's doing, game flea markets. I love finding the deals. There's really no in particular system I collect for. I mean, if I see something that I have the console for, I said, hey, why not grab it cheap?
Yeah, and you've mentioned the music and you say you're recording beforehand. Was that something you'd seen yourself doing in the future, or carrying that on before YouTube came along? And was it sort of did you sort of move from the music straight to the YouTube, and did you make a choice to do that and to finish the music as well?
The thing with me, and I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this can definitely relate. It's like when you start a project, they always don't fall through. You know what I mean? Like you'll get into something, you'll be really into it, and then you just kind of say, meh, and shelf it for a while, and then move on to something else. And that's kind of my life in a nutshell. Like, I'm huge into music. I love recording music, but at the end of the day, it's like, bands never worked out. The music that I record, I would record it and then I would say, I hate it. But then I go back and listen to it years later and I'm like, wow, that was actually pretty good. And, anyone who's a musician can definitely relate. I mean, it's not easy starting a band. It's not easy getting your music out there. And YouTube, for me anyways, was the first thing that I've actually done and stuck with this long and actually have some results. Have some feedback and stuff.
Yeah. And you do the music reviews on your website now, don't you, as well?
I run JumbleJunkie Music also. It was a side channel I started for fun. I had another YouTube friend that was really into music, and at the time there were no music reviewers on YouTube. We were probably, I'd say, one of the first between me, and two other guys, and which one other guy that I'm friends with that actually doesn't live the. He's featured on YouTube all the time on the front page. So it's something that I feel like we've kind of innovated. I didn't, like I said, it's not my main passion.
Yeah.
It's something that I didn't ever thought would take off, and it's my most popular channel.
Yeah. So just talk. You've mentioned that you've got obviously side channels and stuff. Do you just want to give a quick overview of all the channels you've got going and any other projects you've got going just at the moment?
Yeah. I mean, obviously my main channel, JumbleJunkie, which is the one I started with from day one, and that's just mainly my gaming channel, which consists of my game reviews. Once in a blue moon, I'd like to do skits like I used to do in the old days. I have a character named Mr. Sock.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, which we'll get into that. So that's kind of like my character, kind of like fun filmmaking kind of guy that, it's my excuse of making fun of things and getting away with it with a sock.
Yeah.
And then what else did I do on that channel? Oh yeah, my arcade stuff. So I kind of incorporate that. And then my music channel is just mainly music reviews. I mostly are into metal and stuff. That's kind of was my niche is into metal.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. I sit in front of a camera, I write a few things down, I talk about the album, I rate it, and then either people love it or they flame me and they hate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The music community is definitely a lot more harsh than the gaming community. The gaming community is definitely more together.
So which community would you say you enjoy being a part of more? The video game community on YouTube or the music community?
It's definitely the gaming community.
Yeah.
Is more positive. You don't really get a lot of. There's no really negative feedback generally. I mean, you'll get. That's just like any YouTube channel really. But the music community, and just like going back when I was in bands and stuff, it's a lot of elitism, if that's a word, elitism.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I feel like the gaming community is a lot tighter. It's more of a friendship. It's more of a bond opposed to the music words. But you still have a lot of cool guys out there that, are in your camp and stuff. But anytime you have an opinion on anything, it will definitely be in the ring. You're going to get it.
Yeah. And which one do you spend more time sort of concentrating on? And I guess it's different because on the music you just sort of listen to the songs and then you review them, and maybe does it take more time to make the video game videos with the different characters you got going and recording the footage and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, one would think that the music channel would be the one I would go for because that's where I get most of my traffic, the most of my views. I put the less effort into the videos and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I like the positive reinforcement. I like that positive vibe. Even though I can put 10 to 20 hours into a Mr. Sock video, I still gravitate towards the gaming channel.
Yeah. Okay. And that's just because of the feedback that you get from that? Yeah,
and I'll be honest, like the music channel in the past year has been kind of in the backseat. Like, I'll pop out a video here and there, but I'm not like consistent like I am with the gaming channel.